Top 8 matches rumored for WrestleMania 34, and 7 we'd like to see.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
15.
Rumored, Triple H vs. Braun Strowman. Following the events that transpired at Survivor Series, most wrestling fans are expecting to see Triple H take on Braun Strowman. Although some believe that the former will face Kurt Angle, rumors claim they could compete at Royal Rumble before Triple H takes on the Monster Among Men. At Survivor Series, all 3 superstars were a part of Team Raw until Triple H briefly turned on Kurt Angle, so he could have all the glory for himself. Strowman wasn't impressed with his actions, refusing to remain silent as he attacked Triple H in retaliation. The feud will likely continue to slowly build up before they clash at WrestleMania 34, as rumors have recently confirmed. The entire WWE universe isn't necessarily convinced, with many wanting a different opponent for Strowman. As he continues to get over with the fans, a win over Triple H could only help him, while a loss may not be so beneficial.
14.
Would like to see Sasha Banks vs. Bayley. In 2015, Sasha Banks and Bayley made history with the longest match in women's history at NXT TakeOver, Respect. The 30-minute Iron Man match was also the first WWE event to be headlined by a women's match, which has significantly helped in the rise of the women's revolution. Since they both joined the Raw roster, they have been able to capture the Raw Women's title while being involved in many storylines together. They have remained friends on screen, even when they were booked to fight on Raw, although fans have been waiting for one of them to turn heel on the other. It hasn't happened yet, but it may take place sometime before WrestleMania, to build up for the anticipated rematch. It's unlikely to be a title match, but that matters very little considering their in-ring talent and chemistry, although WWE hasn't hinted about a potential bout in recent times.
13.
Rumored, Seth Rollins vs. Dean Ambrose. We have seen Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose compete numerous times over the years, but they have never done it at the grandest stage of them all. After having reunited this past summer, they have been a part of the WWE Tag Team division for a few months, but rumors claim that they may be headed for another breakup. This past year, we have witnessed so many teams split up, so it's likely that the company will save it for 2018, with Royal Rumble being the perfect opportunity to begin preparations for their WrestleMania bout. There probably isn't going to be any championship involved, with the feud being even more personal than usual. It's one of those matches that fans are happy to see, even if it has occurred plenty of times, since their great in-ring chemistry enables them to deliver an outstanding match on any given night. 12. Would like to see Triple H vs. Bobby Roode. While rumors claim that Triple H is likely going to face Braun Strowman or Kurt Angle, 2 matches that fans would be more than happy to see, most will agree that Bobby Roode could be an even greater opponent at WrestleMania 34. Roode has been compared to Triple H due to his style of wrestling, heel antics and overall charisma, but he has yet to take that big step to place among the top superstars today. At 40 years old, Roode isn't getting any younger, and WWE has to get the most out of him before it's too late. It could be a great opportunity for him, as well as one of the most intriguing storylines. At Survivor Series, WWE did tease a potential match between them, when they squared off in the tag team contest, with both men trading signature moves in the ring. With Root on SmackDown and Triple H on Raw, the former would have to either switch brands, unless WWE goes for a good all-inter-branded match.
11.
11. Rumored, John Cena vs. The Undertaker. For years, we have heard rumors about John Cena challenging The Undertaker for a WrestleMania match, although they never came to fruition. At WrestleMania 33, it appeared that The Undertaker was passing the torch to Roman Reigns after losing to him. It was said that The Undertaker had finally retired, but recent rumors claim the Deadman will be rising once again as he is set to appear on the upcoming 25th anniversary Raw special. If The Undertaker does wrestle once again, there are two potential opponents that fans have wanted to see him face at WrestleMania: John Cena and Sting. The latter is highly unlikely at this point, leaving Cena as a realistic option. It is now or never for this dream match, which has previously taken place, but never at the biggest stage. According to rumors, WWE might finally deliver with the long-awaited bout.
10.
10. Would like to see Brock Lesnar vs. Batista. Like it or not, a showdown between Batista and Brock Lesnar would be one of the biggest draws for WWE. It's been a dream match for so many years, as they are two of the strongest and most dominant superstars in wrestling history. When Batista was in his prime years, Lesnar had left the company to pursue a career in the NFL and then the UFC. Batista had filled in Lesnar's shoes for years before leaving the industry due to frustration with the current product. Batista went on to become a Hollywood star just as Lesnar had returned to the WWE. With Batista revealing recent discussions with WWE about a potential return, we may be seeing the long-awaited match. Given a choice between this bout and the rumored main event of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, I think it's safe that the majority of fans would pick the former.
9.
9. Rumored, Charlotte Flair vs. Ronda Rousey. Charlotte Flair is certainly living up to her father's legacy with 6 title reigns in a short period of time, including her current SmackDown Women's Championship. She has been the most successful superstar during the Women's Revolution, but her next challenge could come from outside of the squared circle. After having made a cameo appearance at WrestleMania 31 to take out the Authority, Ronda Rousey appears to be headed back for a match against Charlotte. With a UFC return appearing to be unlikely at this point, Rousey has hinted that she is ready to step into a WWE ring during a brief video in which she met face-to-face with some superstars. While many women have accepted Rousey's challenge, rumors claim that WWE wants Charlotte to be her opponent at WrestleMania 34. While we have no clue whether they can pull off a quality match, it will certainly be huge for the women's division, especially when it comes to media outlets.
8.
8. Would like to see Kurt Angle vs. The Miz. In recent weeks, we have witnessed plenty of heat between the current Raw general manager Kurt Angle and The Miz. With Angle being recently cleared to compete once again, he has been a part of 2 tag team matches, although he has looked sluggish for the most part. Despite his health concerns, rumors claim that Angle is preparing to compete in a singles match which could take place at the upcoming Royal Rumble. While fans would love to see him compete against the likes of Nakamura, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, that doesn't appear to be likely at the time. A realistic yet interesting opponent for him would be The Miz, who has a reputation as a safe worker and could deliver a memorable match with Angle. They are also both great on the mic, which will surely deliver some entertaining promos and segments during the build-up.
7.
7. Rumored, Alexa Bliss vs. Asuka. This past September, Asuka made her long-awaited move from NXT to the main roster, joining Monday Night Raw, where she has continued to dominate. After having defeated several superstars including Emma and Dana Brooke, Asuka is rising through the ranks as fast as we all expected. With Alexa Bliss currently reigning as the Raw Women's Champion, rumors claim that she might hold on to the title until WrestleMania when she faces Asuka. A match between the two has already been hinted, as Bliss addressed Asuka's undefeated streak by saying she would be the one to end it. If the match does take place at WrestleMania 34, it will continue the trend of great women's matches that have been booked in recent years. Asuka was the greatest NXT Women's Champion, and it's only a matter of time before she gets her hand on Bliss's Raw Championship.
6.
6. Would like to see Kevin Owens vs. Randy Orton. Randy Orton isn't the most exciting worker these days, with fans losing interest in the 13-time world champion. However, they have to accept that he won't be going anywhere anytime soon. He hasn't had many memorable feuds as of late, but a rivalry with Kevin Owens could certainly change that. Over the past few weeks, they have been trading insults on social media, with Orton making jokes about Owens' weight, while the latter repeatedly called him boring. Orton has become a better promoter on Twitter than on the mic, but if the online feud carries over to the ring, it will certainly draw the attention of fans. Although many believe that Owens will be booked to fight Sami Zayn, it's safe to say that we have seen that match more than enough times. Owens could be the one to bring the best out of Orton in a potential WrestleMania feud.
5.
5. Rumored Brock Lesnar vs. Roman Reigns. As soon as WrestleMania 33 came to an end, rumors were flying that the main event of the next one has already been determined, with a rematch between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. At WrestleMania 31, they competed for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, although neither walked out as champion, with Seth Rollins cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase to win. Lesnar has been the WWE Universal Champion since defeating Goldberg at WrestleMania, and he will likely hold on to the belt until the 34th edition of the event. Roman Reigns is currently the WWE Intercontinental Champion, but he's likely to move on to challenge Lesnar soon, as he could once again win the Royal Rumble. Fans aren't exactly excited to see the rematch, although they have come to accept that it's almost guaranteed to happen at this point.
4.
4. Would like to see John Cena vs. Samoa Joe. There is history linking John Cena and Samoa Joe, as they trained together in the early 2000s, while the former went on to be signed by the WWE shortly after. Joe had to wait until 2015 after having had an impressive run on several promotions. With John Cena likely out of the title picture, there are several opponents that would make for a dream matchup at WrestleMania 34. Among them is Samoa Joe, who has only wrestled Cena pre-WWE, and then more recently at house shows. There is no doubt that they could deliver a classic match and possibly steal the show, but it's unknown whether WWE is interested in booking it for the biggest event of the year. Many felt that Cena was misused at the previous WrestleMania, but this could be the perfect opportunity to make up for it in a lackluster year.
3.
3. Rumored AJ Styles vs. Shinsuke Nakamura. If there is one rumor that the majority of WWE fans are hoping to come true, it's the showdown between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania 34. Arguably the two best wrestlers in the WWE today, they have previously met in 2016, while wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling. The match didn't disappoint, as Nakamura came out on top to retain the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. With AJ Styles currently holding the WWE Championship, rumors have it that Nakamura might be his challenger at WrestleMania. This past November, both men hinted towards a future match, with fans chanting for a WrestleMania bout. It was posted on the official WWE Instagram page with the following caption: "Did number Weflerins just make a number WrestleMania match?" At AJSTYLESP1 and at Shinsuke Nakamura seem to agree.
2.
2. would like to see Bray Wyatt vs. Broken Matt Hardy. It seems like WWE has slowly but surely killed the hype behind Bray Wyatt, who has been struggling for quite some time. Fans are still hopeful that the company will make things right, as they only need to improve his booking. The perfect opportunity may be presenting itself with Matt Hardy's undergoing transition into his broken persona. The character had gained huge popularity outside of the WWE, but they were unable to use it until recently due to legal issues. With the ongoing promos across social media platforms and Hardy's actions on Raw, he will soon fully adopt the persona. Before rejoining the WWE, fans dreamed of a feud between Bray Wyatt and Broken Matt Hardy, which is realistic now that they are of the same brand. It's unknown whether the company has a similar point of view as fans do, but that will likely be determined by Hardy's success over the coming weeks.
1.
1. Rumored, Finn Balor vs. The Miz. The feud involving Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor didn't go as well as fans had hoped. It failed to capture the WWE Universe's attention. Of course, having Wyatt play his own sister didn't help matters. As for The Miz, he has been involved in some minor feuds, but nothing spanning more than a couple of weeks, and it looks like that could be changing soon. Recent reports claim that a feud may start soon between them, building up to a future WrestleMania match. The Miz is certainly one of the best heels on the roster, and could elevate Balor back into the top spot. Since returning, Balor hasn't set the world on fire, with some doubting that he is over enough to be one of the major players, and he is undoubtedly looking to prove all doubters wrong. If WWE follows through with their plans, both superstars will highly benefit from this feud.
Yeah.